Welcome to All Sorts Podcast. Today, we're celebrating someone pretty special, Ludwig van Beethoven. You know, it is his birthday.
Happy birthday, Ludwig.
Yeah, December 16th. What better way to celebrate than with a deep dive into his life and music? I mean, the guy is a legend.
Absolutely.
So think of this as like a birthday bash, you know?
A little different.
A little different. But we're going to uncover some really cool stories.
Yeah.
Explore the man behind the masterpieces. And hopefully you'll leave today with like a newfound appreciation for Beethoven. And hey, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube.
Yeah, come on.
And follow All Sorts Podcast on Instagram and Threads. It's like we're building a symphony of curious minds here.
The symphony.
Yeah, all harmonizing in the pursuit of knowledge. All right.
Let's get this party started.
Let's go.
There's something about Beethoven, isn't there?
Oh, yeah.
His life, a whirlwind of passion, struggle, and ultimately triumph. And you hear it all in his music.
Absolutely. It's like listening to a diary set to music. So to understand the music, you got to understand the man.
Right.
Let's go back to the beginning, his origin story. Bonn, Germany. Baptized December 17th, 1770. So today, December 16th, is most likely his actual birthday. But get this. Beethoven himself thought he was born in 1772. The maestro of music. Got his own birth year wrong.
A little ironic, isn't it?
It is.
But hey, it kind of speaks to his chaotic life a bit, even from the beginning.
Yeah.
And speaking of beginnings, family. His grandfather, Kapellmeister Ludwig van Beethoven.
Another Ludwig.
Yeah.
Big shoes to fill.
It must have been quite the legacy. So was young Ludwig's path already written for him?
Well, maybe. But there was also a ton of pressure. And then there's his dad, Johann. Court singer, struggled with alcoholism, not nearly as talented.
Oh, wow.
And he saw Ludwig's talent as a way to make money. Sadly led to a pretty tough childhood for Ludwig.
Yeah, I've read about the training methods. It's hard to imagine a young Beethoven at the keyboard, you know.
Yeah.
Forced to practice for hours. Punished for every little mistake. Did that scar him? Oh, it definitely shaped him. Some scholars think it really instilled a sense of discipline, but also maybe a bit of defiance. You can definitely hear that rebellious spirit in some of his later works.
Yeah. It's crazy how childhood can echo through a whole lifetime.
It really is.
But even with a tough upbringing, his talent was clear. Composing at age 12. Makes you wonder if he was just born with this gift.
Well, natural talent was definitely part of it. But even raw talent needs refining. Think of it like a precious gem.
Okay.
It needs to be cut and polished. Beethoven had several mentors, crucial roles in his musical journey. Christian Gottlob Neff, first real music teacher, introduced him to Bach, other masters too. Then there was Franz Anton Ries, violinist,
Okay.
broadened his horizons in chamber music.
Sounds like a pretty well-rounded education. Was there anyone else?
Oh yeah, he studied counterpoint,
Counterpoint.
the art of weaving musical lines together, with Johann Albrechtsberger.
Wow.
This training, you can really hear it in the complex textures of his compositions. And for a while, he even studied with Antonio Salieri, honing his skills in vocal composition, Italian opera.
Wow. That's quite the lineup of mentors.
It is.
Soaking up all that musical wisdom.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have young Beethoven, super talented, rigorously trained, composing, performing. What's next? When does he hit the world stage?
Well, picture this. Bonn in the 1780s, buzzing with the Enlightenment, echoes of the French Revolution. Young Beethoven, working as an assistant court organist, publishing his first compositions, gaining recognition. But there's this restlessness, a desire for something more. And Vienna is calling the heart of European music and culture.
So in 1792, age 21, he sets off on this new adventure. What was Vienna like back then?
Oh, it was a melting pot of creativity, brimming with opportunity, grand concert halls, aristocratic salons, the echoes of Mozart, who had just passed away a year earlier. It was the place to be if you were a talented young musician.
Yeah.
But it also meant leaving everything behind, including his ailing mother, who sadly passed away shortly after he arrived.
Oh, that's rough. But in the midst of loss, he gets a chance to study with Joseph Haydn.
Haydn.
What an opportunity.
Incredible.
What was their relationship like?
It was a meeting of musical titans, but not without its complications.
Oh, really?
Haydn, master of the classical style, recognized Beethoven's talent, but also found him a bit unruly, rebellious even. Beethoven respected Haydn, but chafed under his traditional approach.
So a bit of a clash of personalities.
You could say that.
But Beethoven must have learned a lot from Haydn, right?
Oh, absolutely. He dug deep into composition, especially counterpoint.
We were talking about that earlier.
That's right, the intricate weaving of musical lines. Haydn encouraged him to explore orchestral colors, helped him refine his understanding of form and structure.
Yeah.
But Beethoven was never one to follow the rules. He was determined to forge his own path, break free from the classical style, create something entirely new.
That independent spirit. You can hear it in his music. I remember reading about a piano duel he had with another rising star, Joseph Wolfel, back in 1799. It sounds like something out of a movie.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It was quite the showdown. Imagine a grand salon filled with the Viennese elite, the air thick with anticipation.
I can just picture it.
Beethoven and Wolfel, both brilliant, trying to outdo each other with their improvisational skills.
So who won?
Who do you think?
I'm guessing Beethoven?
Beethoven, of course. The story goes he completely blew Wolfel away with his virtuosity and originality, cementing his reputation as a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
But Vienna wasn't just about musical battles, it was also about cultivating relationships, especially with patrons.
Oh, yes. The patrons.
How then? A composer's livelihood often depended on wealthy aristocrats.
Right. So who championed Beethoven's cause?
He had a few influential figures in his corner, recognizing his genius and supporting him. Prince Lichnowsky offered him lodging, a stipend, and Prince Lobkowitz commissioned several of his early works.
So they gave him financial stability.
Exactly, and access to the highest circles of Viennese society.
It sounds like a golden age for Beethoven.
It does, doesn't it?
Composing, performing, mingling with the elite. But if I remember correctly, his life is about to take a dramatic turn.
Oh, you're right.
A turn that will completely change his musical journey.
A tragic and incredibly inspiring turn. Imagine this. You're a young musician at the top of your game, surrounded by fans, and suddenly your world starts to go quiet. This was Beethoven's reality, as his hearing began to fade.
It's just heartbreaking to think that the core of his art, his ability to hear, was slipping away. When did this start happening?
Well, the first signs showed up in his late 20s, ringing in his ears, trouble following conversations, music sounded muffled, and by his early 30s, it was clear Beethoven was going deaf.
I can't imagine how devastating that must have been. How did he deal with it?
At first, he tried to hide it. He was worried it would ruin his career, isolate him from society, but he couldn't keep it a secret forever.
Right. As his hearing got worse, he became more withdrawn, prone to outbursts of anger and frustration. It was a dark time for him.
It sounds like it. And yet, during this dark time, he composed some of his most powerful and innovative works. It's almost like his struggle fueled his creativity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This period is often called his heroic period, and it saw the creation of masterpieces, like the Eroica Symphony, originally dedicated to Napoleon Bonaparte.
The Eroica is so powerful, defiant. Do you think there's a connection between that symphony and his hearing loss?
Many people do. The symphony's grandeur, the struggle and the ultimate triumph, it's seen as a reflection of Beethoven's own fight against adversity.
It's like he was wrestling with fate, refusing to be defeated by his condition.
That's a good way to put it.
So he poured his struggle into his music. Are there other examples of this?
Absolutely. Take the Moonlight Sonata.
Oh, yeah.
That hauntingly beautiful piece, with its melancholic opening.
It is.
Often interpreted as a reflection of his growing despair and his isolation. It's amazing how music can convey those emotions, even without words. Did Beethoven ever actually write about his feelings about going deaf?
He did. In 1802, he wrote a letter to his brothers. It's known as the Heiligenstadt Testament, and he really poured his heart out in it.
The Heiligenstadt Testament, I've read about it. Such a raw and personal document. What did he say?
He wrote about his deep anguish over losing his hearing. He even contemplated suicide, but ultimately decided to live for his art. He wrote, "I will seize fate by the throat. It shall certainly not bend and crush me completely."
Wow.
It's a powerful testament to his resilience, his determination to overcome.
And overcome he did. Think about the Fifth Symphony, with its famous Te Deum opening. It's become a symbol of struggle and triumph, and he composed that while already profoundly deaf.
It's incredible. It really shows his ability to create music in his mind, to hear it, even when his ears were failing him.
Yeah.
And it's not just the Fifth. He wrote so many masterpieces during this period, pushing the boundaries further each time.
Like Fur-Elise, that charming little piano piece, it's become a classic. It's hard to believe that the same person who wrote that delicate melody was also going through such inner turmoil.
Well, it speaks to the complexity of his genius, doesn't it?
It does.
He could express the full range of human emotion through music. Joy, exuberance, despair, defiance.
Makes you wonder if his deafness somehow made him even more sensitive, more able to convey those emotions in his music.
That's an interesting thought. Some scholars think that losing his hearing forced him to rely more on his inner ear, on his imagination. And that led to greater depth and complexity in his music.
Fascinating. How limitations can sometimes lead to breakthroughs. But let's talk about another part of Beethoven's life. One that continues to intrigue people centuries later, his love life.
Ah, yes, the romantic entanglements of Beethoven. Enough drama there for an opera.
Oh, definitely. And at the heart of it all is the mystery of the immortal beloved, the woman who received that passionate love letter that was never sent. Her identity has been debated for ages.
It has. And there are several possible candidates, each with their own compelling arguments. There's Antony Brentano, a married woman Beethoven met in Vienna, and Josephine Brunswick, a countess who also captivated his heart.
Sounds like a tangled web of unrequited love. Do you think these relationships affected his music?
It's hard to know for sure, but it's certainly possible. Many of his works from this time are full of longing and yearning.
Yeah. So we have this genius composer battling deafness, navigating complicated relationships. It seems like his life was a constant mix of triumph and tragedy.
It was.
But his creative spirit never wavered.
Not at all. As he entered the 1810s, his music continued to evolve, more introspective, philosophical, even more daring in its harmony.
This is his late period, right?
Yeah.
I've heard that some of his most challenging, rewarding works come from this time.
Absolutely. He really dug into the music of the past, studying Bach, Handel, Palestrina, taking their contrapuntal techniques and incorporating them into his own work.
Counterpoint, that intricate weaving of musical lines that he studied with Albrechtsberger all those years ago. It seems like everything was coming together in his late works.
I think so. His experiences, his mentors, his struggles, it's all there. Take the Hammerklavier Sonata, for example.
Okay.
It's a monumental piano piece, one of the most technically demanding and intellectually challenging ever written. It showcases his mastery of counterpoint, creating a complex and multi-layered musical tapestry.
It sounds like he was pushing the boundaries of what was possible in music, even as his world was shrinking because of his deafness.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's the Ninth Symphony, completed in 1824, his final symphony, and one of the most monumental achievements in Western music.
The Ninth?
Yes.
With its Ode to Joy finale, a universal anthem of hope and unity. It's hard to imagine the world without it.
It is, and the story of its premiere is legendary. Beethoven, by this point almost completely deaf, conducted the orchestra. He couldn't hear the thunderous applause at the end until someone turned him around to face the cheering audience.
Wow. What an image.
It really captures his spirit, his determination.
Yeah. So we've talked about the symphonies and sonatas.
Yeah.
What about his life beyond the music? Was he a solitary figure?
Well, he definitely had his moments of solitude, but he was also a complex person with many sides. He had a lot of friends, and he loved to discuss art, politics, philosophy. He was known for his wit, his love of nature, and his fondness for good food and drink.
So there was more to him than just the brooding genius.
Much more.
But like anyone, he had flaws, right?
Of course. He could be temperamental, prone to anger, and he struggled with relationships.
Yeah.
His personal life was often messy and complicated.
Sounds like he was a man of contradictions.
Well, it was.
Capable of great tenderness and fiery passion.
Exactly. And all of those sides of his personality are reflected in his music. His works show the full range of human emotion, from the sublime to the ridiculous, from the tragic to the triumphant.
Even after the Ninth Symphony, he wasn't done. He went on to compose his late string quartets, some of the most intensely personal and profound music ever written.
You're right, those late quartets, they're like a window into his soul. Intimate musical conversations, so full of complexity and emotion, they can be challenging to listen to, pushing the boundaries of traditional harmony, but so rewarding.
It's like he was exploring uncharted territory in music.
Yeah.
Pushing the boundaries of what was even possible.
Yeah.
And I find it incredible that he kept innovating, experimenting, even as his hearing was getting worse. Was he completely deaf at this point?
He was profoundly deaf, relying on conversation books to communicate.
Wow.
But somehow, he was still able to create these intricate and nuanced works.
It speaks to his strength, his dedication.
But the late quartets weren't just about musical innovation, were they?
No.
They seemed to deal with something deeper.
I agree. Many scholars see them as reflections on his own mortality. his coming to terms with his life and legacy. There's a sense of spiritual searching in them, a yearning for something beyond the physical world. Yeah. It's like he was using music to overcome his limitations, to connect with something bigger than himself. Really moving, sadly. His health started to decline in his last few years. Was he still composing?
He was working on things, but his output definitely slowed down.
Makes sense.
Those last years were tough. Illness, isolation, and a difficult relationship with his nephew, Carl, who he had made his legal guardian.
It's a reminder that even geniuses have their struggles.
They do.
Family dramas.
Yeah.
The challenges of getting older.
Yeah.
So in 1827, after a long illness, Beethoven passed away. At the age of 56. What a loss for the music world.
It was a huge loss. But his music, his legacy, they lived on. His influence on other composers is immeasurable. Brahms, Wagner, Mahler, they all owe something to Beethoven.
That's amazing.
He changed the symphony forever, expanded what was possible with piano sonata, and paved the way for the Romantic era.
Just like his genius created ripples that are still felt today. We still celebrate his birthday. We still perform his music all over the world. We still marvel at his ability to create such beauty and power.
And that's the true mark of greatness, isn't it?
It is.
His music transcends time and place. It speaks to something universal within us.
It does.
Struggle and triumph, joy and sorrow, the whole human experience.
I love that. And it's why even after a deep dive like this, there's always more to discover in Beethoven's music.
There is.
We can listen to his symphonies, his sonatas, his quartets, and find new layers of meaning every time. New connections to our own lives. It's a gift that keeps on giving.
It is. And on his birthday, let's take a moment to appreciate the gift he gave the world. His music reminds us that even when facing hardship, even in the depths of despair, the human spirit can soar.
Beautifully said. And I think it's a good reminder that even after this deep dive, there's always more to discover.
Always.
In music, in art, in the world of ideas.
So, take to Ludwig van Beethoven, the musical revolutionary, the genius who overcame adversity, the artist who poured his heart into his music, leaving behind a legacy that still inspires us.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
And if you enjoyed this journey into the life and music of Beethoven, share your favorite Beethoven moment on social media. Tag us at All Sorts Podcasts on YouTube, X, Instagram, and Threads. And of course, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future deep dives into all sorts of fascinating topics. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep the music playing.